This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 130, and this week I am pleased to be joined by two returning guests and Voices of Wrestling contributors. First of all, from the guy you've heard shouted out repeatedly on the last two New Japan Pro Wrestling shows, Mr. Chris Samsa.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. You, of course, made your first appearance back at the Wrestle Kingdom post shows, so now you're back on here to talk the next New Japan show.
Yes, potentially higher energy today. It is not indeed 4 a.m.
Yep, it's not 4 a.m. It's true. It was you had to really stick those out, but we got through them. People seem to like those shows, so I'm glad we did them.
Oh yeah, that was a great time.
But yeah, welcome back, and also returning, it's Mr. Thomas Fischbeck, who was, I think, on here a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, for the awards.
Yeah, right, for the awards. So, welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back, John. Unfortunately, despite me pushing Basara on like every single appearance on the show last year, I still have failed. Due to time constraints, we're not going to get to Basara today. I'm sorry to everyone that I've failed. I'd like to express, my deepest condolences and all that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fucking Super Bowl, which I will say for the record, I couldn't give less of a shit about.
Yeah,
but
that's on me. Yeah.
you guys want to watch it, so I get it. Because I originally was asking around in the Voice Wrestling Slack, for guests for today, not even realizing it's Super Bowl Sunday, and wondering why doesn't anyone want to talk these shows? And then you guys volunteer, and then I'm like, wait a second, it's Super Bowl Sunday. So
neither of us realized it either.
Yeah. But it's not. I will say it's not appointment viewing for me. I can't remember the last time I actually watched it. So It is what it is. It's not like I'm anti all sports, but I've just never been into the football.
I'm more in it for the the atmosphere at this point, not really the game itself.
Yeah, it's more about the spectacle for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're here to talk two New Japan shows, the New Beginning in Sapporo, nights 1 and 2. Night 2, of course, that took place Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and we're recording on Sunday. We're also going to touch on the Noah Korakuen if we have time, and then also, probably talk a little bit about the interesting business moves going on in Japan with Noah being purchased, and the Dragon Gate hookup at MLW, and a lot of stuff is going on. So we're going to talk about all that. But let's get started with the first New Beginning in Sapporo show, which was yesterday, February 1st, from the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center, the Hokai Kitayel. First of all, in the attendance, this show did 4,569, which is very slightly down from last year, which did 4,868. That didn't really surprise me because, first of all, this was behind night 2. Every time I checked the ticket sites leading in, but it also, neither one looked like night 2 didn't look like it was on track to sell out like it did last year. So I figured night 1 would also be a little behind last year, but not that bad. Down about almost exactly 300. Last year was 4,868. Last year that main event was Jay White and Bad Luck Fale against Okada and Tanahashi, which doesn't really jump out at you as like a big main event, but that Okada Tanahashi like first team up around the loop kind of did big numbers everywhere. Like it did, if you look at the World Tag League in 2018 where they were teaming up on the undercards, those all did bigger numbers than 2019. So that's kind of not that surprising then. And then the year before that, which was Tanahashi and Suzuki for the IC title, which is probably a far bigger match than either year for this night one, that did around almost the exact same number as the 2019 number. So yeah, business wise, I don't think anything too surprising. You could say a little disappointing they're down even a few hundred, but nothing that big a deal. Any thoughts on the attendance, I guess, Chris?
No, I think there was a good crowd. I'm always curious what the production kills are and if those are getting bigger as they prioritize more of the broadcast stuff. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, in general, I felt the crowd that was there was well engaged. They're excited to have them. So it wouldn't have been noticeable if I didn't look at the numbers.
I will say I thought that the crowd on night one was not anywhere near as good as the crowd on night two. But, you have just a way bigger crowd. Maybe that's it. But I thought the crowd on night one took a while to get into the show and was not very into some of the undercard. But
yeah, the only time I noticed that was during, and we'll probably talk about during the match. I thought they were very quiet during Ishii and EVIL.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, parts of the undercard too, but yeah, they weren't that into Ishii and EVIL. Thomas, any thoughts on the attendance or anything else here before we get into the matches?
I mean, it goes to show that New Japan can trot out a double header, in Sapporo with their C-tier title on top and draw more than like any other promotion in the country can draw for their biggest show of the year. Just kind of goes to show how incredibly New Japan has started to dominate the marketplace. So I don't think it could be seen as that much of a negative when you talk about it relative to the other promotions in the country.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else can really even do, 45-69 is higher than almost anyone will do all year, other than maybe DDT.
DDT is probably the only one, maybe Noah for their sumo hall.
Yeah. So it opens up with Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo defeating Yuya Uemura and Tiger Mask in 8:13. Ishimori submitting Uemura with the yes lock. I fucking was not that into this. I just have a note here that ELP's stupid back rakes suck, and he does a freaking frog rake at one point, which is just, I don't know, that's the kind of heel stuff that's like so goofy that it even takes me out of it. I'm just not a big fan, and we'll talk about him even more when we get to his singles match on night two. There's a long heat segment on Uemura, which was fine. Just kind of just there in general. I went 2.5. Nothing special, nothing offensive, just kind of there. What do you think of these opener, Chris?
Similar. I'm growing tired of the ELP and Taiji Ishimori tag team in general. Like, I want them both to go off and do. I just want Best of the Super Juniors. Really, I want them both to have singles matches and to, especially Ishimori, to like trot out his good stuff again. But yeah, it was fine. I always like the Tiger Mask and Uemura combo. I like Uemura a lot. I think he's primed to be quite the star for them long term. But they didn't show a lot with this. I liked their match in Junior Tag League much better.
Yeah, agreed. Thomas?
Yeah, Taichi's a guy that I run very hot and cold on. I thought in Best of the Super Juniors last year, I know he was banged up, but I thought he was probably the worst guy in that tournament, or at least probably in my bottom three. And then the year before that, in the Best of Super Juniors, he had my match of the year. So he's a guy that I think is very inconsistent for me, and so I'm interested to see how he does this year, assumedly healthy.
Yeah. I mean, he's the kind of guy that when he's really on, he can really have outstanding matches, and when he doesn't care, he can really sleepwalk through stuff. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I just like what Chris said. I just kind of want to see him go off and do his own thing. I'm kind of bored of this tag team as well. Match number 2: Toa Hanare, Tomoaki Honma, and Togi Makabe defeating Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Manabu Nakanishi, and Yota Tsuji. 9:41, Hinari pinning Tsuji with the Toa bottom. Of course, the big story here is we're in the Nakanishi retirement tour, as he'll retire later this month on the 22nd at Korakuen Hall. I thought this was pretty fun. I thought Nakanishi and Hanare had this big beefy exchange early on that was good. Tsuji and Hanare really went all out against each other, and I went 3 stars on it. I enjoyed myself. Chris, any thoughts on this 6-man?
Yeah, I mean, as 6-man goes, I mean, with this type of lineup, this was actually really good. And I'm at the point where I pop anytime Hanare gets a pin because I want to see him break out of this young boy thing. So, yeah, it was fun. It's good to see Nakanishi get in there and get his spots in and have people show appreciation for him on his way out. But yeah, ultimately, it was mostly about I think Tsuji and Hanare kind of getting after it, and the finishing sequence was great.
Thomas?
Yeah, Hanare getting the pin is the main story here, and we'll see what direction New Japan goes with the Never title, because they've teased a couple different matches. There's, I would say, probably 3 logical challengers for who challenges for that title next. So I'm just interested to see if Toa's the guy there. And so getting the pin here is obviously a point in his favor.
Match number 3, Will Ospreay, Roppongi 3K, and Ryusuke Taguchi defeating the Suzuki-gun team of Zack Sabre Jr., Desperado Kanemaru, and Doki. Taguchi being Doki in 11:45 of the Dodon. This again was I think a really good undercard tag. Started out with a really big brawl. Ospreay and Zack exchanges looked really good. There's just a lot of fast-paced junior action, which these junior, even though Ospreay and Zack are not, I guess, juniors anymore, but these junior multi-man tags always end up being some of my favorites because they just kind of nonstop action. And by the time it was over, I went 3.5 on it. I thought this was a really good undercard tag. Chris, any thoughts on this one? Yeah,
it's really good. Kind of chaotic Suzuki-gun brawl, but they brought it into the ring, and the ring action was good. Always uneventful when Dookie takes the pin, but I love Taguchi kind of taking over the tail end of it. But yeah, the Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. stuff was great. I think that they teased the next night really well. It was a good preview match, and that's what it was all about, besides I guess letting the other guys get a little bit of ring time in.
Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, my big note here was I guess it was something that I forgot about. It was certainly a thing early on in the year. Last year was kind of the merging of Chaos and the New Japan main stable guys. And between this match and the next match, you have 4 Chaos guys and 2 of the Taguchi Japan guys. So I don't know why they just didn't have the 4 Chaos guys team together and have Taguchi team with Lee instead of Eagles. So
because they want to keep Eagles. They're teasing Eagles and Hiromu, I think.
I think they're trying to, or they're really trying to put Eagles over Bushi. It seems to be the story, to make sure that he's past Bushi.
Is a pin over Bushi how much different than a pin over Yoshinobu Kanemaru or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess you're right. He does seem to be the next challenger.
Yeah.
Where would they even fit that in before Best of Super Juniors?
Well, they might do it on New Japan Road, or
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do it at Sakura Genesis too.
Right.
You still got time. And Dontaku.
When is Best of Super Juniors? It's in May?
It's in May. Yeah, it's after Dontaku. Yeah, it's after Dontaku.
Okay, yeah, so there'll definitely be at least one more junior title, maybe even 2. So yeah. I guess there's time to do that, but
I mean, the New Japan main Army and Chaos merger that's not a merger thing. That's not even notable to me anymore. It's just
It's just
I ranted about that.
Yeah,
I ranted about that a few times last year, but that's just how it is, and it's not going to change. So it's not worth complaining about at this point. Ryu Lee and Robbie Eagles defeating Hiromu Takahashi and Bushi was your 4th match of the night. Eagles submitted Bushi in 11:47 with the Ron Miller special. This again I thought was quite good for an undercard tag. It was all Hiromu and Bushi early. They kind of took it to the floor and dominated. There was a long heat segment on Eagles, but with some really fun double teams. And this is where I just noted that I really like the new thick boy Hiromu act, where he's much more he's put on weight since before he got injured, and he just kind of like will sometimes just no sell like the other juniors' attacks. Like here it was really Robbie's chops and then just like leveled him with an elbow. So he's kind of leaning into the like power junior type role that, I guess you could say Shingo, has left open. And then, Ryu Lee tagged in and he did the Naito combination cabron in the corner, did the Naito eye pose and like spit at him, which I thought was kind of cool. And he did like the Shibata elbows and then the huge drop kick. And we got like a crazy like suplex exchange with both men like no selling each other before Hiromu finally hit this overhead belly to belly in the corner. But yeah, this is a real good tag match. I went 3.5 again. So the undercard here was quite good, full of good stuff other than the opener. What do you think, Chris?
I loved that suplex exchange between Hiromu and Lee. I thought that was a really cool spot. I think it really established that they are willing to kind of go after each other in their match next week. So that was a good preview. I always love Robbie Eagles. He's one of my favorite guys. So I want him to get as much shine as he can. So, I mean, to be perfectly honest, submitting Bushi doesn't necessarily trip that trigger, but he got some shine here, and it seems like they're trying to give him the opportunity to rack up some wins and some falls here, so that it lines up for him to come after Hiromu eventually.
Yeah, and I thought he looked great on both these shows. So,
oh yeah,
I mean he's always good, but I thought he really looked. He was a standout performer. Thomas, what do you think?
Yeah, this was another really good undercard tag. I'd go probably about 3.25 with it. It was pretty obvious who was taking the fall, I guess. Lee and Hiromu, I'm so excited for that match. I mean, coming up just a week from now. Anytime those two guys get in the ring, you have, potential that's out of this world. So that's one of my favorite rivalries in the company. And I'm excited. First time they've, had a match and since Hiromu's injury and the match where he got injured. So,
he's gonna do the Phoenix Plex and like all of Osaka's like their fucking hard skills dropping down the throat. Match number 5: Jay White and Kenta defeating Naito and Sonata in 1824. White pinning Sonata with a schoolboy, but we'll get into what the actual finish was. So this started with like a long stall session by Kenta on Naito, which watching someone else stall on Naito is always kind of funny. But yeah, and then I love that Naito was like ready for Jay to try to jump him from behind once Kenta got back in the ring for the standoff, because LIJ has done that to every other team in this company like a million times. So I thought it was great that Naito was completely ready for it. But yeah, there was like a very boring heat segment on Sonata, so that wasn't great. But Naito had a hot tag that did get us a little bit of excitement. They looked like they were on different pages for a second, but got it back together with a good little sequence ending with the German no sell by Naito and then like a big spine buster. Sonata and White tagged in at that point. Sonata hit a big plancha on White just before the 15-minute call. It did surprise me we had gone that long already, so it definitely didn't drag at least. But then Sonata, he almost pins White with the Okada roll again. White shoves him off, and Sonata hits a chair by Gato, and then White pinned him with a handful of tights. I didn't like that finish. I thought it looked very goofy, so that took it down a notch for me. I went with the Gentleman's 3. There was good stuff here, but not enough to carry an 18.5-minute tag. Chris, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, to be honest. I was curious who or how they were going to get out of someone in this group taking a fall, and of course they did it with Gato.
Yeah. Thomas?
I don't know. I thought this was like pretty bad, to be completely honest with you guys. It just went so long. We don't need random build-up tags, fourth from the top, going 20 minutes. When the next 3 matches are all also going to go 20 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of some of the match lengths in this company sometimes. And I know that's a critique that can get, overplayed, but this was just frankly kind of an absurd. This felt like this went on forever. And I can do the Gato stuff sometimes. Sometimes I enjoy it. But when I'm just like sitting through a show, I'm like, come on, I just want to get to the good stuff. Why is this going on for so long? Yeah.
Match number 6, third from the top here, Minoru Suzuki and Taichi defeating Kazuchika Okada and Jon Moxley, 17-48. Suzuki pinning Moxley with the gut style power driver. First of all, Moxley, of course, was still wearing the eye patch from Chris Jericho's attack in AEW. Kevin Kelly mentioned that without saying the letters AEW, but it's fine to mention Jericho, I guess, because he's a regular guest star here. But it was a good little reminder of I don't know, like this. It made me think of how much I had missed watching New Japan after all this time. I didn't really watch Fantastica Mania, and it just was missing New Japan, and AEW weekly television is a poor substitute. So it was a good little reminder, like, yep, that company that I have already given up on, and I definitely don't miss commercial breaks or the Dark Order or the Nightmare Collective, which I guess broke up actually, but or something happened, I don't know. But yeah, I don't miss any of that goofy bullshit. It's nice just having a 8-match wrestling card of a bunch of matches. But yeah, so there was a long Suzuki and Moxley strike exchange to start. Moxley wound up his right arm forever, but then just slapped him with the left instead and flipped him off, which was really funny. But then Suzuki tried to break his finger, which was also great. We had Okada and Moxley doing double teams at one point, which I thought was also kind of amusing, and looked like Okada was a member of the Shield or something. And then Suzuki and Moxley were doing the dueling barricades on the floor when we really got into the floor brawling. They did Okada and Taichi kind of took things down a little bit with rest holds, but then they got going with a Hurricanrana counter out of a power bomb by Okada, which is not something you see every day. But yeah, this is also where when Suzuki and Moxley got back in the ring, this is where Suzuki gets a cross arm breaker and then was kicking at his injured eye in the corner. But at this point, you could see the patch and the tape come off, so you could kind of see that Moxley's eye was fine. And the camera at this point zoomed in on his face, and I'm I don't know if this is the time to zoom in on his face when this eye patch came off, and you can see his eye is totally fine. But I guess it's not their angle anyway, so who cares? But yeah, then Taichi and Okada, had another really good exchange, ending with this huge backdrop from Taichi. Suzuki and Moxley slugged it out again. And this is where I thought really hit another level, and Suzuki choked him out, hits the God style power driver, 1, 2, 3, completely clean pin on Moxley. I thought again this was a very good tag. I went 3.5 stars on it and had a good time with it. And I guess we can talk about the post match angle after. But what do you think of the match itself, Chris?
I think Moxley's just he's in his element in New Japan. I don't want to say he's a different character than what he's selling in AEW, but I think it's much more aligned with how he wants to present professional wrestling. So I love every time he shows up. Pretty much, I think he adds a lot. He adds a little bit of a different character just because he's not so played out in New Japan yet. But the interactions with him and Okada were fun. It's very, very cool to see those guys finally stand on the same side of the ring. I mean, this was the first time Moxley had tagged with anyone but Shota Umino. So for him to jump right up to Okada is awesome. And the interactions with Suzuki just throughout this whole weekend were just great. And I think that even though it's not at the top of the card, that match in Osaka's gonna be they're gonna go at it. They're gonna try to put on a show, and it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, Moxley and Suzuki just have great chemistry together, so that's been very clear throughout the build-up. So I'm very looking forward to that singles match as well. And I totally agree that Moxley brings that element to New Japan of the Western brawler type, which. I don't know. Some people acted well, how the hell is Dean Ambrose going to fit into New Japan Pro Wrestling? But I don't know, he fits in really well, and he fits an archetype that Japanese wrestling has had for decades. I mean, he looks not to compare him to some all-time legends, but I mean, he has that same kind of Western outlaw kind of thing that that's been a big character in Japanese wrestling forever. So. Yeah, he fits in really well here, and I think, like you said, I enjoy him a lot more than I enjoy him in AEW. But like I said earlier, I kind of given up on AEW in general. So let's just go.
I think Moxley's a guy who can tell the story without between the bells. Really, he can build up a match with a couple of interactions, and it doesn't have to be this big poster pre-match angle. It doesn't have to be an interview. It doesn't have to be him standing in the ring for 20 minutes talking at a camera. It doesn't have to be hard cammed. Like he's good at kind of building out that kind of narrative timeline with with the parameters of the two bells, and also like without necessarily having to do a lot. He does a lot with a little. So and especially in New Japan, and I think once you get into US wrestling, there's a lot of overthinking. So
yeah, I mean, it's just everything has to be a big angle. It's true. Thomas, what'd you think of this one?
It was really good. I went 3.5 stars on it. Lots of fun stuff. I'm really excited for Moxley and Suzuki. I loved Mox's G1 run, but I thought both of his matches on Wrestle Kingdom were disappointing for me. And I don't really watch AEW, so that's been my only exposure to him this year. So hopefully he rebounds, and I think semi-main spot in Osaka Joe Hall against Minoru Suzuki. I think there's a good chance that they do.
I like the Archer match. I didn't like the Juice match either, but I think that's a pretty common take, not liking the Juice match that much. Semi-main, Tomohiro Ishii defeating Evil in 21-14 with the vertical drop brainbuster. This, of course, started with the big forearm exchange, as you'd expect. Evil got the knockdown at the shoulder block, and then they ended up on the floor where they had some more shoulder blocks, and he attacked Evil with a chair, which I thought was kind of interesting. Evil kind of well known for that. But Evil countered by punching the chair back into his face after a brief distraction by Red Shoe, so that was cool. But yeah, it kind of got a little sleepy from there as well, which we talked about earlier. The crowd really was not that into this, which I'm sure also hurt it in general. But there were still some other highlights, like a big backdrop by Ishii at the end of a good exchange. And, Evil at one point just keeps dropping Ishii with these half and half suplexes, and the sleepy crowd finally starts to get into it a little bit. But by the time it was over, I thought, the last, I've seen some other people have this match pretty low. I thought the last, I would say, 6 minutes or so really saved it for me. Not that it was awful before that, but it took a match that I would have rated far lower up to at least 3 3/4. But yeah, I would still call, 3 3/4, below what I would have expected going in. I would have thought this would be a 4+ star match, but it was still very good. We was hurt by the crowd not being that into it, and did have a sleepy early portion, and they did struggle to make up for that. But the end of it was still really good. What did you think, Chris?
I'm never super excited for Evil singles matches. I don't know that I've ever seen one that really peaked for me. So, my excitement for this match really came from Ishii being a component here. So, and because I am excited for him typically. So, I think it hit my expectations. I wanted it to have something more, or a big spot, or something impressive, and it really just it was the baseline match I would expect from these two guys. Evil losing or Ishii winning, it makes me wonder what in the world they're doing with Evil, and how they're going to make him a relevant kind of component to either LIJ or even kind of any of the title pictures. They've never really done much to build him up as a singles guy. So I guess here we go again with what was going on with Evil. So that's kind of my question coming out of this. I know Ishii can go, and he'll land back in the never title, space, and he'll have a good New Japan Cup. But when do we start to see the direction that they're going with Evil is kind of my question right now.
Yeah, it's a fair question. I usually like Evil a lot more than that, but I just thought he does have a tendency to occasionally come up a little small in these big singles matches, and I guess he kind of did here. I don't really feel like it was either guy's fault, though. I just kind of feel like they didn't click as well as they could have, and the crowd really wasn't that into it. It just never got past a certain level. But I mean, still a very good match. What do you think, Thomas?
I thought it was good. I didn't get a lot of the hate that it was getting online. I went 4 stars on it. Actually, I really enjoyed it. A lot of the heavy hitting stuff was a lot of fun. As for the winner, Ishii going in, to the never direction could be a lot of fun. Or I've seen some speculation on his prospects of a New Japan Cup win. So we'll see where that goes. But really great match for me, 4 stars.
Maybe they're also just saving a big evil win over Ishii for something else because now he's
0-8,
I think. And then if you don't count, I think there's like 5 young lion matches, but then he's still maybe it's 0-9 now. I don't know.
It's 0-9 now. He was he's 0-4 as evil.
Yeah. So because he lost it was like a New Japan Cup match, a Ring of Honor TV title match, and then like last year at I think Wrestling Dontaku. So I think that's all 3 of them. But yeah, now obviously here again. So maybe they're just saving Evil's big win over Ishii for something bigger or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's worth like really building up to, unless that would be some really long-term booking.
Yeah. The main event
didn't Evil have a big losing streak angle with Zack Sabre last year too? So
yeah, they kind of did do that, right? Like not a huge one, but yeah.
So we'll see if they try that again.
The main event, the never openweight championship match, Shingo Takagi defeating Hiroki Goto in 2010 with the last of the Dragon to become the 29th champion. I have to say, I do these previews and my predictions on every match, every main event match. All 4 of them were wrong. So a banner weekend for me and my previews if you read them on the Voice of Wrestling website. But yeah, I thought going in that Shingo was not going to win this because more than anything that he had those US indie dates coming up on Mania weekend. And I wasn't sure if they wanted him to go in as never champion, but maybe Shingo's going to win every match anyway. Maybe it just doesn't matter. So, but there you go. As far as the match itself, this was, fucking awesome. Pretty much exactly what I expected. A lot of standing and trading early. Shingo looked really dominant early on. He just like shrugged off Goto's offense and then to add insult to injury, he just kind of taunts Goto and says, no one's cheering for the champion. But I'm like, you're getting a little too real here because especially since Goto went on to lose this one. There was a story where Goto would fight back and Shingo would just take over again pretty quick. He was very dominant, but Goto finally puts Shingo down with the Usigo Roshi as we hit the 10-minute mark. There's like a big lariat and backdrop no-sell sequence that Goto got the better of. That was a really awesome sequence. He comes out on top of the following lariat strike exchange as well, but Shingo quickly recovers and wins another lariat battle. Shingo, he did something off the top rope. I'm not sure what move it was. I couldn't hear what the announcer said. It looked like the blood fall to me, which is a move he used to use in Dragon Gate. So I don't know if he has a new name for that or something. I don't know if either one of you caught it, but it was like a really brutal looking, like off the top rope move. But yeah, then Goto kind of answered with his own off the top rope, the Yoshi Tonic that he does from time to time. That got 2 again. They traded GTRs, and here I found out that Shingo's GTR stands for the Great Takagi Revolution, which I thought was really funny. But Shingo wins another big lariat battle with like this gigantic pumping bomber. They have another struggle, and Goto gets the Shoten Kai out of nowhere, which that move can be really hit or miss, but it really hit here. And the crowd's going absolutely nuts here, which, for a crowd that wasn't super into this show, and especially not that into the last match, to win them over like that was something. And then there's like a big headbutt exchange. They have a big stalemate. Shingo starts no-selling Goto's elbows again. The strikes get even more vicious, and then, Goto manages to shrug off 2 closed fists, keeps going with the headbutts, hits the reverse GTR, goes for the regular one, but Shingo counters with the Made in Japan for 2. We hit the 20-minute mark, and Shingo just puts him away at the last of the Dragon. I thought that finish was perfect. He looked like the better man, which he did throughout this match, and, you could say, can make a lot of Goto the Geek jokes here, and they're probably deserved. But, Shingo clearly, if you're going to put Shingo over, you might as well put him over strong since, Goto is what he is at this point, and Shingo's still climbing the ranks. So I thought it was awesome. Everything you could have wanted out of these 2, 4.5 stars. And then Shingo locked eyes at Show at ringside. And they teased another Shingo and Show match for the Never title, which would be awesome. Truly open weight. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on this one? And were you surprised that Shingo won?
Yeah, I was really surprised Shingo won, but I was excited because I want the Never title to be something a little bit more than it has been over the past, I guess, year and a half. And I think Shingo's probably the guy to bring it up, especially with the Intercontinental being kind of tied to the heavyweight championship right now. So this was the most exciting outcome. Shingo matches are some of my favorite matches in pro wrestling right now. So this match with Goto, just another in a series of great matches with Goto. I don't know which one I like better, this one or the Destruction in Kobe, but they have good chemistry. I think that Shingo drives the pace of Goto's matches up a little bit, and Goto can keep up. I just think when he's the one kind of dictating the pace, he's not ever going to go for that kind of high cardio, spot after spot pace. So this really hit the spot for me. I think that Shingo can do a lot with this title, and he can, as we saw last year, like he can definitely work up a weight class or work down a weight class. So I think this might be the opportunity to truly establish the open weight title as an open weight title. So I'd like to see his first, couple of defenses kind of span the weight classes a little bit so that is more defined again. And, but I think that if Shingo can have a good long run with the Never title, then they can keep the IC attached to the heavyweight for as long as they need to. If they can really establish this belt as that next tier. So I had a blast watching this match. I'll watch it again probably later this week just to get down the details.
What do you think of this one, Thomas?
Yeah, this was just tremendous stuff. 4.25 for me. On the one hand, I'm a little sad Goto didn't hold on to this title for a little longer because Goto in the Never scene, it's just, awesome to see. But on the other hand, I mean, Shingo with this title, I hope he holds this title till Wrestle Kingdom next year and just, defends against a bevy of guys because there's, we've seen a lot from Shingo last year, but there's still so many matches that we haven't seen. And so I'm really excited to see what he can do with this title. And like I said, there's 3, reasonable challengers that he could go to next between Sho, Toa Hanare, who's called him out, and then also Tomohiro Ishii, which would be the logical challenger from a booking perspective because he got the win in the semi-main event on the show. But whichever direction they go, I mean, those are all sure to be great matches, and I'm really excited for it.
What did you give it star rating wise? I didn't hear that.
I went 4.25.
Okay. By the way, you sound like underwater or something all of a sudden. I don't know what happened really, but
well, we'll see what we can do.
But yeah, night one overall, I thought this was a very good show. Awesome main event. Some really good stuff on the undercard. I could see saying that the semi-main was a little disappointing, but I didn't think it was enough to take the show down from anything other than being very good. Any final thoughts on night one, Chris?
No, it's a fun show. It was really, really refreshing to have New Japan back on my television screen.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch any of Fantastica Manias, so I definitely missed them. Thomas, any final thoughts?
Very good show. Undercard tags were great, and I think the top 2 were very good. With the main event, being a legitimately great match that, sets up a lot of interesting opportunities for the future.
You sound fine now, by the way, so I don't know what yeah, that's night one. Night 2 opened up with Toa. Oh, first of all, I guess the attendance. It did 5,690. Again, just a few hundred down from last year, which was 6,089. Has to be said, the main event last year, Naito versus Taichi. Main event this year, Okada versus Taichi. Finally, we have it. Definitive proof. Did see a Naito, a bigger draw than Kazuchika Okada. There you go.
Or we have proof that Taichi is indeed a draw.
Yes, either way you want to, however you want to say it. But yeah, this was a almost a sellout. I think it would have been a sellout before they added more seats last year. So let me check something real quick. I want to see New Beginning in Sapporo, Night 2, 2018. Did Taichi and Okada outdraw the gamer? I bet they did. Yes, 5,140 was night 2 years ago. So there's still almost 600 fans more than Kenny Omega and Jay White did. So way to go, Okada and Taichi. But yes, so new beginning in Sapporo night 2. You know, not really anything to be concerned with if you look at the attendance. I mean, 400 less is like whatever. Match number 1, Toa Henare defeating Yota Tsuji in 8:16 with the Toa bottom. You know, this is a really fun opener, I thought. You know, it started with the big shoulder block battle, which you'd expect from these two, and Henare won. The crowd got really behind Tsuji when he like fired up and put him down with a combo and a spear. And this is where I noted too, like, I don't know if it's just because of the bigger crowd or what, but the crowd sounded way more into this than they did into some of the undercard stuff the previous night. But yeah, Henare finishes him with the Toa bottom. I went 3 1/4 on this. I had a great time with an 8-minute singles match between a young lion and an almost young lion. I thought it was really good. What do you think of this one, Chris?
I'm a big fan of the young lion singles matches, as opposed to kind of mixing them in with the old guys. So this hit the spot for me. I know Henare is technically out of that phase, but he still kind of lives there. But I'm waiting for them to do something. He did grab the mic from Kevin Kelly and start talking about that he was done with the young boys. So I want to see that come true. So, but Henare's great. He looks really good right now. So like now's the time for him to take that opportunity and step up and try to get some of those matches under his belt. So even if this is just the year that he kind of runs the 0 fall differential versus the negative 57 from last year, that would be, significant movement. And if he can get involved in anything out of the first 2 matches on a card, I think that'll be a sign of things to come for him. So Tsuji looks good too. I mean, even though he has put on a significant amount of weight in the last year, but he looks like he can carry it. So I think that there's some strength underneath a little bit of that added meat. So these guys going after it, this could be a future matchup in that kind of hard hitting, strong style, big guy phase. So I think this is really good. I had a really good time.
I know Tsuji wants to go on an excursion to Mexico, he says, which would be interesting. I mean, he'd be like the first real big heavyweight I can remember going to Mexico in a while. So what do you think of this one, Thomas?
Really, really fun opener, I thought. Toe's got a lot of potential. I went 3 stars on it, which is, solid for a nice little 8-minute opener or whatever it was.
Match number 2, we had Hiroshi Tenzan, Manabu Nakanishi, and Tiger Mask defeating Togi Makabe, Tomoaki Honma, and Yuya Uemura in 9:48 when Tiger Mask pinned Uemura with the Tiger Suplex hold. So we started out here. It looked like it was going to be Uemura and Tiger Mask. And Tiger Mask like berated him backstage yesterday after their tag match. So that like kind of had some added heat there. But it turned out to be Nakanishi starting out instead. The crowd just really wanted Nakanishi. So I don't know if that was planned, but they did tag in Nakanishi. Did not go well for you, as you can imagine. And then Tenzan and Nakanishi like splattered Honma, who maybe should have retired before Nakanishi, honestly. But he just kind of like got destroyed here. Makabe had his working boots on in this one, which for him means like he did running clotheslines in both quarters. He took, I think, like 3 or 4 actual bumps, which is more than he takes a lot of days. But yeah, then Tiger Mask and Uemura finally get in together, and Uemura gets the better of him for a little bit before Nakanishi comes in to break up a Boston Crab. Tiger comes back with a really hard kick to the skull, a butterfly suplex up the top, which looked great, and Makabe made the save there. And Tiger finally finishes him with the Tiger Suplex hold. Again, a very fun undercard match. I went 3 1/4, and I had a real good time here. So, I just realized we never talked about the Okada-Taichi angle yesterday. I guess we can talk about that when we get up to Okada and Taichi. But don't let me forget, I guess.
Okay.
Chris, what do you think of match 2 here?
I think it was good. I think it was everything that they needed it to be to get Nakanishi some time. And I mean, Tiger murdered Uemura with that high kick. then so the finishing sequence starting with that kick was great. Interesting to see them just kind of like split them up or at least create some dissension with that little combo that they've had going for a while. And I wonder if that'll kind of continue with Tiger just kind of beating up Yumura and trying to make him into a tough boy. So good match, fun time. I like that Nakanishi got to cut a little promo after the match too.
Thomas?
Yeah, nothing really to add. A standard little New Japan undercard match. Nakanishi, I'm gonna miss him a little bit.
I'm gonna miss him a lot.
Yeah, what was who did he have in the New Japan Cup last year? In a match that was like absurdly way too good for what it should have been.
That's a good question. I vaguely remember this, but I don't remember who it was either. Let's see. Cage match him though.
Cage match will know. Can always trust cage match to bail you out in these situations.
Yeah. Because I can almost picture. What was it? Hanare? Did Hanare beat him?
I don't know. I'll just continue to stall as you pull up cage match.
Yeah. It was Yoshi-Hashi. It was Yoshi fucking Hashi. Yeah. Wow. That must have been. I mean, I do remember that being good. So
yeah, I remember it being way better than it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Match number 3, El Phantasmo defeating Gabriel Kidd in 850 with a flying body press. Gabriel Kidd, of course, is a new LA Dojo young lion. He, is from England and has a big history with the British Indies, and I guess also in Defiant and other places in Seattle. This is the first thing on the show. We've been very positive about these two shows. This is the first thing I'm going to really bury. I fucking hated this match. It was okay at the start with Kid running wild and, before ELP took a powder, but then it just got ELP's offense. He has possibly the stupidest offense in all of professional wrestling. Like he switches between like working over the hand and arm for a while, very boring. Then he switches to like these wacky rope walks and does this jump and Rana. Like why? Like what is the connection here? Why are you going from these, working with this guy's arm to like bouncing around the ropes? It just looks like there's no transitions, there's no match flow. Then he's doing his fucking back rakes forever. Then he's in a rest hold. Gabriel Kidd like collapses after he does a body slam, and I'm like, why are you collapsing? He hasn't done anything to you to like result in you collapsing. He's raked your back mostly for the last couple minutes, and he like jumped around the ropes, and you're like throwing this body slam and falling to the ground like you're like you've really been battered here. That was incredibly stupid. It just looked hokey as hell. Because all of ELP's offense was so bad. And then ELP finally puts Kid and me out of our misery with the top rope body press. I went 2 stars, and after recapping it, I feel like that might have even been too high. I really hated this. The whiplash between his, indie-rific spots and the boring heel shit is just awful. He does not know how to lay out a singles match, especially this is it's you versus Young Lion, buddy. Just fucking give him his hope spots and, put him away. You don't have to do the bouncing around the ropes, and I don't know. It just wasn't good. I didn't like this at all. So, Chris, what did you think of? Are you going to defend ELP here?
No, no, I'm not an ELP defender. But I was mostly watching this match just to get a feel for Gabriel Kidd because I've never seen him on tape.
Yeah, I'd never seen him either.
Yeah, so like I guess I wasn't super mindful of the stuff I'm usually watching for like pacing and stuff like that. So I was looking at Gabriel Kidd and kind of how crisp his moves are and where he's headed. And he looked good. And he was a little vocal at the beginning of the match. And I thought that was interesting, especially as he is being presented as a young lion, even though he's got a lot of experience. So yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention, but nothing ELP did stood out to me beyond. But maybe I'm just so used to the damn ELP Ishimori, shenanigans that none of this really stood out to me. But it also didn't give me that good of a vision for what Kidd looks like. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in a match with even just another young lion or someone like Yumura that I could start to really see what Gabriel Kidd's got bringing to the table.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like Gabriel Kidd didn't. I mean, he looked all right, especially the opening stuff. But he didn't really get much of a chance to make an impression. It was just all the friggin' ELP circus. But Kidd does have a couple of singles matches at Korakuen. He has Taguchi on Tuesday and Uemura on Wednesday.
Then fucking ELP again.
Oh yeah, ELP again on Thursday. Wonderful.
Those first two sound real good though.
Yeah. So hopefully we get the chance there. Thomas, what'd you think of this showcase? Yeah.
The showcase. I've seen ELP before. I've seen the Gabriel Kidd before a couple times, and I think the What Culture, whatever their promotion was called a few years ago, and he was pretty good there, I thought. So it's interesting that he's positioned as a young lion, as Chris said, because he's an experienced guy. I thought he looked pretty good here. He has a good look. He looks crisp. But ELP, like, he's really bad. Like, I think he had a couple good matches last year. I really enjoyed the Rocky match, but when he's entrusted to lead a match, it's just not good. He's not at the point yet where he knows how to structure a match yet, I guess, at least for my taste. So this is 2 stars for me. And like you said, I don't know, I could have gone lower.
It fucking sucked. Match number 4. I mean, it's the only thing we're really going to bury on these 2 shows, so I guess that's good. But yeah, that match fucking sucked. Match number 4. Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Robbie Eagles defeating Shingo Takagi, Evil, and Bushi. 9:42. Eagles tapping at Bushi with the Ron Miller special. First of all, I did not even realize this was the exact same match that's headlining Thursday's Korakuen for the Never 6-man belts until Kevin Kelly said it when they were coming out. I was like, oh, okay. And Shingo walking out with both Never belts. That was just cool as hell. Like, we're in like double title mood, I guess, but that was such a cool little thing for Shingo just to come out with both those belts. Everybody kind of paired off. Robbie again, I mentioned him yesterday, but he looked great here with his kicking the crap out of Bushi. He was like probably the highlight of the match. There was a really good Shingo and Goto exchange again with Goto putting Shingo down to lariat. We got like a brief EVIL-Ishii exchange, and then Ishii and Shingo really went hard at each other, which was really good. A really hard forearm exchange, and then a big short arm lariat from Shingo. And then the ending was like, I put the match up a quarter star just for the end, which was, everybody like ran in, everybody teams up to work over Bushi. Eagles does the 450 on Bushi's legs and then puts him in the Ron Miller special. Everyone runs, Goto and Shingo run into, or Goto and Shingo and Evil run in to try to break it up, but Goto and Ishii stop them with stereo Ushigoroshis, and then Bushi struggles for a long time and finally taps out to the Ron Miller special. Again, 3.5. This was quite good, and hopefully the title match on Thursday is even better. But this was real fun. Chris, what'd you think of this 6-man tag?
I loved the stereo Ushigoroshis. I thought that was that was a cool look. They got a really good camera shot on it too, which is always helpful. The Eagles finishing sequence of the 450 to the knee, and then the Ron Miller special. He's got it. Eagles is my guy. So this was fun. This is everything that a never open weight 6-man title match could be. So I think it's a little curious that they ran out the same match just without the titles on the line. But I guess we'll see where that goes. So I wouldn't mind them flipping the titles over to these guys and having Goto, Ishii, and Eagles defend them for a little while to build up that set of belts if they really want to do something with them this year. But good match, fun, a lot of action, very little downtime, and that's kind of what you're looking for in these types of matches.
Thomas, what do you think?
Yeah, this was really great stuff. I was 3.5 on it. Tons of fun. Eagles is a guy that I really love. I don't know if he gets as much hype as maybe he deserves. I don't think he's even had a junior title challenge, has he?
No, he hasn't had one yet.
Yeah, I think that could be part of the reason, but he's been tremendous. I think he's probably one of the top workers in the division, which is saying a lot given how stacked the division is. And I love this, fun closing stretch with Eagles and Bushi. And after the match, Eagles does the belt motion. I'm like, oh shoot, are we getting Eagles Shingo? And then Kevin Kelly pops up to remind me, oh no, it's just a 6-man title match at the Cork. I was like,
I'll take Eagle Shingo though. That sounds great.
Does sound
Yeah.
great.
Thomas, you sound weirdly deep now. I don't know what's going on with your microphone.
My mic is
But,
just just what are you gonna do?
It's giving you like a bonus, I don't know, like a baritone or something. Match number 5, Jon Moxley, Roppongi 3K, and Ryusuke Taguchi. That was a real team, folks. Defeating Suzuki-gun, Minoru Suzuki, Desperado, and Kanemaru and Doki. 12:58. Taguchi pinning Doki, submitting Doki with the ankle lock. So basically, the way they did this was Roppongi 3K and Taguchi count together, and then Moxley came out, started coming down to his own music, down through the crowd like he does. But Suzuki met him up in the stands, and they fought all over the place. That was awesome. They ended up on this table at ringside, and they both tried to put each other through it before they both kind of just fell off. They took turns biting each other, just a totally wild brawl. We at one point we heard the announcers calling the Suzuki Moxley brawl on the floor while we're watching, action in the ring, which was kind of funny. But yeah, then Moxley and Suzuki finally tag into the match officially and, really go at it again. Taguchi then tries to get his train going where he's doing the manager calls, but he keeps trying to get Moxley's attention, and Moxley just totally ignores him to fight with Suzuki. I thought that was perfect. I mean, Moxley doing the fucking wacky running around would have looked stupid, so that was great that he just totally blew off Taguchi and kept fighting Suzuki on the floor. But that led to a funny spot where Taguchi was in there with all 3 of the others by himself when they took out Roppongi 3K. And, instead of slinking away, he's now evolved to telling them to bring it on, and they just all beat the shit out of him. But yeah, then we get another crazy Suzuki Moxley exchange, and, then they both kind of hilarious, both boot Taguchi down so they can keep brawling down to the floor again, which is great. And then Doki takes advantage and almost pins Taguchi with an inside cradle, which was kind of cool. But then he eats the Bamaye and then taps to the ankle lock. I thought this was really fun. I went 3 1/4. Pretty much all the undercard matches on all the undercard tags in these 2 shows are really good. So, this was a lot of fun here. What'd you think of this one, Chris?
This was again very much about Moxley and Suzuki, so I enjoyed the hell out of it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much more that I can say about those 2. This was fun though. It was fun to see Moxley interact with Taguchi a little bit. There was that one point where Suzuki and Moxley were just beating the hell out of each other, and Taguchi tried to come in and break it up, and they both kicked him. And it was Moxley didn't care if he was on the same team; he was just going after Suzuki. So that was cool. I'm sure the intention when they put this match on paper was to build up Sho and Yo with Kanemaru and El Desperado, but I didn't see much of that because that is a match on the Osaka show. But I don't know that those guys need another set of buildups, so I think it's okay that they focused more about Suzuki and Moxley.
Yeah. Thomas, what do you think?
Yeah, not much more to add. It's good seeing Suzuki so motivated. He was someone that I kind of figured could be done with New Japan. I think there are rumors swirling around, and I personally heard a rumor he was supposed to, or I don't know if there was any validity to it because obviously it didn't happen. But that Noah mystery show on January 5th, and he wasn't booked on New Japan's January 5th Wrestle Kingdom show. So there was a lot of rumors swirling around could he appear there? But now he's sticking in New Japan, and he seems motivated, and it's great to see. And now he's semi-main eventing Osaka Joe Hall a month after people were wondering if he would be out of the company. So that's kind of crazy. But yeah, fun little match. I enjoyed Taguchi's comedy.
After this, they announced a Hokkaido tour for mid-July, which was really cool. I mean, it's a short tour. It's July 11th to July 19th, but they're doing a lot of shows in those 8 days. So they're going to hit up the big one. The city I actually heard of is Hakodate, which is where the Shinkansen ends right now. The new Hokkaido Shinkansen. It's the very edge of the island, basically. Because if people don't know Japanese geography, Hokkaido is the North Island. So it's, north and to the east of the main Honshu Island where Tokyo, Osaka, all those major cities are. So they haven't done a real tour of Hokkaido with all these other cities other than Sapporo in a long time. I mean, they showed on the screen how long. I mean, Hakodate and another one they hadn't gone to in 7 years. And then some of the other ones they hadn't gone to in 12 years, 14 years, and 22 years. So it's been a long time since they hit these smaller Sapporo City. So you can see people are freaking out in the crowd because it's like they are much more used to having to travel to Sapporo to see these shows. And now they'll be able to, see it in their own hometown for the first time in decades in some cases. And then it ends with two nights again in Sapporo on July 18th and 19th. So it's one of the things New Japan's going to be doing, I guess, during the summer when there's no G1, since the G1 got moved because of the Olympics. I've heard rumors, obviously, about like U.S. tours and U.S. shows, and they didn't announce anything there yet, but we'll see. But what's going on with that? But yeah, I mean, it looks like this will be interesting. I'll be interested to see. I mean, I would love for some of these Sapporo shows to make tape. I don't know how, or these Okada shows. I mean, I'm sure the last 2 nights in Sapporo will, but I hope like they film like Hakodate or some of the other small shows just to show these crowds that haven't seen a New Japan show in decades in some cases. I don't know. Any thoughts by either one of you on this Sapporo tour?
No, I think it gives us some clarity on what they're going to be up to, because they had left a pretty significant gap in the schedule when they did the announcements. So looks like July will be at least one kind of smaller Japanese tour, and I guess we'll wait to hear what's going on with New Japan of America.
Yeah.
Summer Struggle. What do y'all think of the name? I say it's a solid name.
Oh, that's the name? I didn't even know we had a name.
No, Summer Struggle. That's what I see.
Okay.
What do you think? Rate the name, John.
I'm gonna go solid 3 3/4.
There we go.
It's very good name. Not quite a 4-star name. And Thomas, like the weird baritone is really throwing me every time you talk now. I don't know if there's a way to fix that, but it's like it sounds like there's somebody different.
Like bad or just like different?
It just sounds different, but okay. I mean, it sounds very weird. So it's like I feel like I'm talking to somebody else. Match number 6, Tetsuya Naito, Sanada, and Hiromu Takahashi defeating Kenta, Jay White, and Taiji Ishimori in 15:34. Sanada tapping out Ishimori at the skull end. I thought there was a big improvement on the LIJ Bullet Club, tag from the previous night. It began first of all, I noted Ishimori clapping for Kenta. That was a little surreal because I feel like I used to watch those two team up a million times in Noah back in the day. They were like a big junior team from like I want to say like 2008 to like 2010, maybe, like pretty much for the rest of Kenta's junior career before he moved up to heavyweight. So that was a little surreal. They also did have some singles matches where Kenta, I looked it up, had a perfect 4-0 record. So Taiji's never beat Kenta. I don't know if we'll ever see that match again, but Naito extremely over here. I thought way more than last night for whatever reason. Maybe just more LIJ fans turned out for this night. Bullet Club attack for the bell. Things settled down with like a big heat segment on Hiromu. Kenta at one point I thought was funny. Just like he was in the middle of beating up Hiromu, then he just slid out of the ring and went to go beat up Naito on the floor and like sent him really hard in the barricade, and then slid back in like nothing happened. That was kind of funny. Kenta and Naito I thought had a really strong sequence that like let Naito like show off his selling, which is always a big strength of Naito, but like he made like Kenta's double stomp off the top look particularly brutal. So that was a cool little sequence there. And then Naito on both nights, he teased hitting the Gloria, which the announcers pointed out, like if you know how the Gloria lands, that would land right on Kenta's bad shoulder, which he has all taped up. So good job by the announcers pointing that out. So, both nights he wasn't able to hit it, though. So it makes me think that that's going to play into the finish, next week in Osaka. He'll finally hit the Gloria right on the bad shoulder. But yeah, there's a really hot sequence for everybody running in and laying everybody else out right around the 15-minute call. We ended up with Sanada and Ishimori having a fun exchange, and Taiji finally taps the skull end. Real good stuff here. I went 3.5. And then afterwards, Hiromu stole Naito's heavyweight title, but perhaps even more importantly, he stole Naito's hat. So maybe some subtle teases for Naito and Hiromu at the anniversary show if they can both get past their opponents next week in Osaka. What did you think of this match, Chris?
I think it was good. I think it was fine. I'm not overly excited for Naito and Kenta or Sanada and Jay White. So there's enough on the Osaka show that I guess I just haven't bought into those as the big angles. But this was the best interaction that I've seen between Kenta and Naito. So I think they're building it up. I'm interested to see if they have any interaction this week as they go through those Korakuens. So other than that, yeah, the post match with Hiromu and Naito was it was cute, but I think it was also meaningful. So I thought it was really funny that Naito was not asking for his belt back when he stood in the ring and Hiromu walked away. He was asking for his hat. So they've got some cool interactions. I'm very hopeful that is the anniversary show main event. I think that would be just awesome. So yeah, overall it was fine. It was good.
Thomas?
Yeah, I like this. I definitely like this better than their match, or than the build-up match on the previous show. Taichi and Sonata had a really fun closing stretch, and those are two guys that I run very hot and cold on. Probably more cold recently, but I really enjoyed them here. And I went 3.5 on this. Naito and Kenta has not been a feud that I've been as much into from an in-ring perspective. It's much more outside of the ring that's built my excitement for it, but I am, very excited for the match. And then also, obviously, you got Hiromu and Kenta on opposite sides here to build up their anniversary show match.
Semifinal, the British heavyweight title, Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Will Ospreay in 27:04 by referee stoppage with the Cobra Twist. First of all, I love the opening video with the soft piano music because they're both I guess gentlemanly Brits or whatever. That was really funny. But yeah, this match was awesome. And I didn't like the G1 match last year. I thought the G1 match last year was really overrated in some corners. It was I think I went 2 3/4 on it or something. I thought it was fine, but not anything great. But this match was what I was expecting from the two of them, where they just went balls to the wall from the start. Started really fast, but ended in a stalemate. We had a knuckle lock sequence that led to a really fun dueling rolling pin attempt sequence, and Will gets the advantage by almost kicking his head off. There's a lot more fast actions before Zack slows it down with a cravat, but Ospreay gets that with his handspring kick. They really leaned into Ospreay being the bigger and stronger guy, which is a rare position for him, especially against a quote-unquote heavyweight. But that was really the story of the match. So I thought it worked for Will. It was a very unique role for him to be in. Zack put him down with a really nasty-looking half Nelson suplex. Zack got up, and hit 3 straight PKs for a near fall. He started kicking at him, and it just pissed Will off. And Will revived with this huge elbow, putting him down with one shot. We got a super fast sequence ending with a big suplex from Will, and he hit the odds cutter finally on the second try, but Zack rolled to the floor, which, again, because he's such a smart wrestler, he rolls to the outside. Will tosses him back in, Zack just rolls to the other side, and then Will follows with a Sasuke special, which I thought was awesome. He starts doing his long step with a hidden blade, but Zack countered with a leg lock. Will tried it again, but Zack turned in his wacky arm submission that put Tanahashi out of action. But Will made the ropes. And then the only minor complaint I have about this match, I thought the Stormbreaker counters went on a little bit too long. I thought they did 1 million of them, but by the end of it, it did the drama was there. So I thought it did work, but maybe could have taken one or two of them out. But yeah, we ended up basically with a million Stormbreaker counters. Will goes up top and hits a really nice looking shooting star press, but Zack kicks out again. Finally, I think the 5th or 6th time Zack got out of the Stormbreaker, he gets him into the Cobra Twist. He brings Will down to the mat, and finally the referee has no choice but to stop the match. Zack Sabre Jr. retains. I went 4 1/4 on this. I thought it was awesome. Again, totally blows away their match from the G1 last year. And I was stunned by the result. I really thought Will was going to win this. So, they got me on this one. I really thought Will Ospreay was going to become the new British heavyweight champion. Maybe they're going to build that up and pay that off at Sakura Genesis or something. But yeah, this was awesome. What did you think of this one, Chris?
Yeah, I keep thinking that they're going to take the British Heavyweight Championship off of Zack Sabre Jr., but he keeps winning. So, I thought Ospreay was going to win this. I thought this match was awesome. I agree. I think it was significantly better than their G1 offering. But I think both these guys have just improved and really established their characters over the last 6 months or so, to the point where I'm just much more invested in each of them. So I think that obviously helps. The placement on the card was good. Them in the semi-main, I think that's the right spot for this title. And I think the reversal thing, like these are two guys that it seems like their strategy in their matches is to try to win. Like it has, and you could say what you want to say about Ospreay, but he hits big move after big move after big move, and he goes for pins all the time. So this was a showcase of these two guys kind of working against each other and both like trying to win from the beginning. And Sabre hit the submission, and I think this was a cool way to keep Ospreay strong by not having him actually submit. And I mean, to be honest, like that submission looked brutal. Like it looked like it would actually, knock someone out. So they got a really good camera angle on it. They had Ospreay's face the whole time. So I thought that they did a really nice job kind of laying out this match in a way that was engaging throughout.
What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, this was really good stuff. These two have just tremendous chemistry. I definitely liked their match in the G1 more than you, John. But I think this was probably at that level, if not higher. I was 4.25 stars. A ton of fun, and I could, understand going higher. I didn't feel the length at all. 27 minutes did not feel like that to me. The reversal stuff you all already touched on, but that was a ton of fun. And I liked Ospreay trying to hang in the grappling department and the submission game department, and then realizing the back half of the match, okay, I can't keep up with this. I need to, pivot to what I'm good at. And it was a fun dichotomy of a match. I'm not sure where Ospreay goes from here with New Japan Cup coming up. We'll see how far he gets pushed there. Has he officially became a heavyweight yet, or is he still?
They haven't. I don't think they've said anything.
Okay, so we'll see. But I assume he'll be in the New Japan Cup at least.
Yeah, I mean he was last year. So
right, yeah. But, great stuff. 4.25.
The main event: Kazuchika Okada versus Taichi. So we didn't mention last night there was a big angle at the end of that tag match where Taichi, he laid out Okada with the iron fingers. Zach came in to stop Ospreay from interfering, and then Taichi gave him the Black Mephisto on the ramp. So Okada came out here like with his neck all taped up. I thought it was funny. Taichi insulted the crowd last night, and when he basically was like, he called them country bumpkins or whatever. And if you watch like the subtitle thing they put up on New Japan World, Milano just like kind of deadpans like you're from here too. Like Milano's deadpans are always so funny because he does that a lot where like he replies very dryly to whatever the guys are saying or doing. But yeah, despite insulting them all, he was still very popular here, which I thought was funny. So Taichi goes right after Okada, specifically targets the Evlec tape on the back of his neck again. He kicks him right in the neck, and then he goes for the iron glove immediately, but Okada stops him and like hits his big crossbody over the barricade. Okada works over Taichi here, kind of boring, and this is maybe the only big flaw I have in the match where, this little sequence here wasn't that interesting. But Taichi like suddenly explodes with his like dangerous backdrop, and then we hit the 5-minute mark. Taichi, chokes Okada out with the camera cable. Okada, he keeps teasing that he's going to get back into it, but Taichi keeps like shutting him down by going right back to his neck. And I thought Okada's selling here was really good. So that was good by Okada. But Okada gets a DDT to get some breathing room. He gets some momentum with a big elbow, but he's still setting the neck at this point. Taichi takes back over by using Miho as a human shield on the floor. He tries for Black Mephisto on the ramp again. Okada instead gets a shotgun drop kick on the ramp, but he, lands hard on the ramp himself. And so, again, good selling there. Taichi takes back control around the 15-minute mark. Okada lays him out again with a flapjack. We're back to a stalemate. Taichi, when he's laying there, he like sneaks the iron glove onto his hand a second time and tries to hit him with it again. But Okada ducks it and like drop kicks him out of the ring. At this point, Okada he picked up the iron glove and was like looking at it, but I thought it was kind of funny. And the English commentators were like, "Don't mess with that karma," basically, which I thought was funny. But yeah, he basically decides not to do anything with it. But then Kanemaru comes out here, distracts the ref, so Taichi can hit Okada with a chair. I will say I liked that they kept the, I guess you could call bullshit to a minimum here. It wasn't like they kept going back to it like in some of the Jay White matches. He just kind of hits him with the chair, breaks the chair over his head. It looks great. and then that's the extent of Kanemaru's involvement. So that was good at least. So he follows it up with an axe bomber for 2, tears off the pants, buzzsaw kick, stretch plum. He pauses to like tear the tape off Okada's neck and unlocks the stretch plum and again. He lets it go to try for a pin, but that only gets 2. Okada blocks the last ride attempt and like backdrops out of it. We get like another long sequence where Okada ducks another buzzsaw kick. It's a huge German suplex. Taichi ducks the Rainmaker, but he eats a drop kick, and this is where the match, like, again, very typical for an Okada match, but it's a great closing stretch here. He goes back to the stretch plum. Okada, does this. Okada gets out of it, and then Taichi like does this big like backdrop counter of another Rainmaker. He drops on another backdrop, and then he like fires up, almost like trying to play to the crowd at this point, and does like another backdrop with a backdrop hold for a 2 count. The crowd's really getting behind Taichi here. Okada like sidesteps a super kick. He gets this big desperation tombstone. They're both out, and we get like a big Taichi chant, and they both get up and like trade big boots. Taichi, he almost seems like he transformed over to the strong style Taichi after he was so intent on using the iron gloves before, but like he really is like the crowd's behind him. He's like really fired up here. He drops Okada with a big right forearm and then even hits a drop kick, which the announcers pointed out. I can't remember the last time I saw Taichi hit a drop kick. But then Okada gets the short arm lariat and keeps wrist control to get a second one. Taichi finally gets desperate again and like grabs the referee to block the Rainmaker, hits a low blow and a Gato clutch. That was an amazing near fall right before the 3 count. Okada kicks out. So I actually thought for a second Taichi might win that with, that would have been a very Taichi type victory. But, he hits a big axe bomber, ends the Giri combo, finally gets the last ride for 2. The crowd's even more behind him with another big Taichi chant. He goes for Black Mephisto. Okada escapes and hits the spinning lariat. He goes for the Rainmaker. Taichi ducks. Black Mephisto again. We hit the 30-minute mark. Okada escapes again, tries to get Taichi up with the tombstone. Taichi escapes with a big high kick, but Okada like catches the super kick attempt, hits the spinning tombstone, and hits the Rainmaker for the pin. This fucking owned. 4.5 stars. I'd have to really think about which one I liked better, this or Shingo or Goto. I think maybe Shingo-Goto by like a hair, but both these main events were awesome. Taichi again got to show that he could hang with Okada. Got to be in a 30+ minute main event where I, other than like a very brief period at the start, I never really thought it dragged, and really like just outstanding job by Okada with the selling, with selling his neck and stuff, and just Taichi really getting fired up and getting the crowd behind him was great, and just an outstanding main event here. What did you think of this one, Chris?
I was really surprised with how much I enjoyed it. So I'm not usually a Taichi guy, but this had to be my favorite Taichi match I've ever seen. So I didn't really feel the length. I heard the call for the 25-minute call and then 30-minute call, and I was surprised by that. So it did drag a little bit at the beginning, especially like when they went to the outside and kind of all that action. But some of that's pretty standard tropes for even an Okada match. So the near falls really were well executed. They really got me with that, the Gator roll. And even the English announcing team was waiting on the confirmation that it was only 2. So they played that one really, really close. The rest of the finishing sequence was good. I mean, it was everything you'd expect from an Okada finishing sequence. A lot of teases of the finally hitting that tombstone Rainmaker. But I enjoyed it a lot. I think that it did open me up to think that maybe Taichi does have some good stuff in him. I think he's still really gimmicky in his presentation, but I think once he gets in the ring, he proved today that he can go, and it'll be interesting to see if New Japan wants to turn him into a big star, because they could put him over some pretty big guys even through the New Japan Cup or even this year's G1, and they might have something on their hands that they can leverage.
What do you think, Thomas?
Well, first off, I think it's crazy to only be coming around now on Taichi. I mean, the man was incredible all of last year. I mean, You can't come on this podcast and talk like that, Chris. Yeah, no, the audience. No, this was really good. I might be. Wait, Chris, do you do star ratings?
No, he doesn't do star ratings.
All right, but I don't know. Just by listening, I might be the low man here. I was 3 3/4 on it. It was a match that I think peaked really high, but I felt the 31 minute length, to be honest, and so that's what keeps it from getting into that 4-star, 4.5-star with John Went range. But it was a great moment for Taichi, in his home prefecture against the ace of the company. You're not really going to get a bigger spot than that in the rest of your career. And Taichi's like getting up there in age. So this was a great spot for him. I'm glad he put in a good performance,
Overall, I thought this was another great show. I don't know which show I prefer. I think probably this one just because I like the semi-main a lot better than the semi-main from the day before. And, the main was about the same. So I think I'm going to like the undercard on that one better. But two really good shows overall. So nothing at all to complain about here. Like a great way for New Japan to come back finally. Any other final thoughts?
I agree. It was good back-to-back. It was fun. Always tough to try to watch these both live. So I actually finally slept through a New Japan show, which is probably the first time I've done that since the G1. So, but yeah, it was good. The main events were both excellent. I couldn't imagine them both being on the same show. So I'm glad they were split.
Yeah. Thomas, any final thoughts?
No, a nice little tour. Well, I guess the tour is not over yet, but a nice little first half of the tour. Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
So before we move off New Japan, I'm just going to quickly go through the other shows coming up on the New Beginning Tour. Don't need to go through every match on the Korakuens, but the main events in the Korakuens, which, some really cool stuff here because you have 2 elimination matches. First of all, on Tuesday, February 4th, you have Okada, Ospreay, and Roppongi 3K against Taichi, Zack, and Desperado and Kanemaru. On the 5th, on Wednesday, you have another elimination match with Naito, Sonata, Hiromu, and Bushi against Kenta, Jay White, Ishimori, and Phantasmo. And then on Thursday, you have the Never Six-Man Tag Title match with Shingo, Evil, and Bushi against Goto, Ishii, and Eagles. So I always really love those New Japan elimination matches, especially at Korakuen, where the crowd always seems to be really into the over-the-top rope eliminations. So 2 elimination matches plus a Never Six-Man title match. Those are 3 strong Korakuen main events, so I'm pretty excited for those 3. The 9th, of course, next Sunday, a week from what we're talking about here, has a loaded-up Osaka Joe Hall, New Beginning in Osaka. You have the junior tag title match, Roppongi 3K making their first defense against Kanemaru and Desperado. You have a pretty big, actually, tag match, Okada and Ospreay against Taichi and Zack. So interesting to see who takes the fall there. Yeah. You have Sonata and Jay White, Hiromu and Ryu Lee for the junior title, John Moxley and Minoru Suzuki for the U.S. title, and finally the double title match, Naito defending the heavyweight and IC against Kenta. I guess let's get predictions really quickly on the title matches at least. I think Naito's retaining. I think, memes aside, I think they're doing Naito and Hiromu at the anniversary show, so I think they're both going to retain. Moxley Suzuki is the one where I'm a little more torn about who can come out on top here. I think Moxley could easily retain here. Suzuki could easily win, especially if they want to get the U.S. title onto somebody who might actually appear in the U.S., but there's not a pressing need for that since, Suzuki, there's no American tour announced, and I don't think there will be one until probably maybe even after Dontaku. Maybe after Sakura Genesis, I don't know, but probably not after Dontaku. So I lean on Moxley retaining, especially after Suzuki pinned him with the God style power driver. But yeah, I guess, Chris, do you disagree with any of those picks in title matches? Or
No, I think they all retain. I'll be surprised if they don't. I mean, you're right. Moxley and Suzuki is the one that I could see flip-flopping, but they would have to set up Moxley's next angle then. And I mean, I didn't expect them to set up Suzuki at Wrestle Kingdom, so they could certainly do that. But I sense that Moxley is going to keep coming back. So, it wouldn't surprise me if he holds on to that belt, just because it's elevating that belt too. So you're seeing the U.S. and the Never both kind of climb the ranks here. So it's actually really good to see on the singles belt side of things.
Yeah. Thomas, any thoughts on those 3 title matches or anything else, I guess?
Yeah, I agree. I don't expect any of the titles to change hands. And Moxley, him flying over to work a couple of tags shows me that he is to stay, and we've heard things that confirm that. So yeah, I think Moxley probably retains, although he's the most likely. You never know what New Japan is liable to do with the juniors titles as well, so those could easily change hands as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna retain, but who knows?
I think they will, but yeah, it's New Japan, so who knows? They just can we talk about fucking Godwin?
Yeah, I was trying to avoid it because I was like so disgusted on Twitter. But yeah, fuck God. I'm so sad they're champions again.
Yeah. I wonder who wins Sonata White. I think Sonata's. I think both those guys are potential New Japan Cup winners. So that's an interesting match. I think Sonata would be my pick. Either of you?
Yeah, I sort of think Sonata's going to win too.
Yeah, I think Sonata needs it more.
Yeah, that's
fair. All right, so there's your New Japan talk. Let's quickly talk a little bit of Noah. They're in the big story of the week with coming out that DDT's parent company, CyberAgent, bought Pro Wrestling Noah last. God, what the hell was the day they announced this? It was like 2 days before the Korakuen, right? So I think like Tuesday.
Yep. Okay.
So Monday or Tuesday, something like that.
I think it was Monday.
27th.
I think it was Monday.
Yeah, I think like the 27th they announced it, and the 28th they had a lot more details. Yeah. But yeah, so DDT, there's a lot of reasons why that makes a lot of sense. First of all, Noah, was on the market as it turned out. The parent company, Ladette, I mean, they're not like a big company that was like I think like an event planning company or something like that, but not like a giant corporation or anything. So even though Noah's attendance was up last year or was like, steady, they were still losing money. So they needed to sell. We already know the WWE wanted them to be like one of the beachheads of NXT Japan. And, Noah told them to get lost, which looks even more impressive now that they, their owner knew they were losing money and had to sell eventually. So, it's just like you can see a pattern here basically where like these Japanese companies would rather sell to Japanese corporations already involved in wrestling. And, it's an advantage that the Japanese scene has that the UK scene did not have, beyond the fact that the fucking promoters in Japan are in goddamn marks for WWE. I saw people joking on Twitter that like after that, it turned out that like one of the big offers they already made just when they were trying to buy Stardom was they were going to put Rossy Ogawa in the Hall of Fame. And obviously Rossy Ogawa couldn't have given less of a shit. But yeah, like you saw people joking like the Progress dudes were like really mad they didn't hold out for the WWE Hall of Fame because they would have like gone crazy for that. But yeah, these guys aren't marks. They didn't grow up wanting to be in WWE. It's not the same thing. But on top of that, now you have big corporations, big media conglomerates. You have Bushiroad, who bought Stardom. That's a big, anime and gaming mobile game company that that already owns New Japan, obviously. And then you have CyberAgent, which is even bigger than Bushiroad. They have their hands in all sorts of pies. With games and they do anime as well. I know they did like a wrestling themed isekai last season with like a character based on Mao from DDT, which I thought was funny, but I guess leveraging that DDT ownership. But yeah, they do anime, they do games. They have a Bima, which I think is the biggest factor for people who don't know what a Bima TV is. A Bima TV is basically an over-the-top network type thing that you don't need to sign up. You don't have to pay for it, basically. We have some like that in America now. I think like Comet, right? I think that's what one of them is called. It's like basically it's just like, a streaming service that you can watch different channels on, very similar to cable, but it's ad supported. It's not like you have to pay for it. So, you watch it for free, but it's ad supported. So you have that, Bima, they bought CyberAgent bought DDT. They put it on a Bima. I think they gave DDT their own network on a Bima. And DDT's been a huge success on Abema. So the shows average, from what I've read, between 100 and 150,000 viewers. So that's really good for Abema. That's like close to the top, apparently, for Abema TV viewership. So, they look at DDT as like a very successful product for them. They put their DDT wrestlers on, not even just like wrestling shows. They have this show called The Night that's very popular, where they put it's like a variety show with DDT wrestlers, and they put DDT wrestlers on other programming too, and Tokyo Joshi and all that. So they look at that as like a successful brand, and then you see this other pro wrestling brand available, that's very different from DDT, and they decide to jump on it and put Noah on Abema, see if it can draw like viewership, similar viewership levels. So I'm sure there's a long-winded way of saying DDT's success on Abema is probably a major reason why we have Noah still owned by a Japanese company and not owned by fucking WWE as part of NXT Japan. So thank you, DDT, I guess is a good way to put it. This show, the Noah Korakuen, on January 30th, 2 days later after they announced the details of sale, this was already on DDT Universe. So, Noah has a landing page on there that it's going to be part of Universe. They're saying 1 to 2 live shows a month. They are still going to continue airing on G+, which is a satellite sports network in Japan. They're going to continue airing on Samurai as well. And then obviously they're going to air on Abema. So that's kind of the setup. I guess, Thomas, you're also a Noah viewer. What were your thoughts when you heard all of this, and what do you kind of think about what's going to happen going forward with Noah?
Yeah, well, I mean, the way that it's been framed to me, it seems like the options were either go under an incredible business change where you cut a lot of the roster, go out of business, sell to WWE, or sell to CyberAgent. And I think from those options, I think they clearly chose the right one. You gained the DDT partnership out of it. It seems like there will be some crossover going forward.
Well, Marufuji's been on Noah. Marufuji's like part of a unit in DDT. I mean, he's been there. Yeah, he's been there for months. So
yeah, Marufuji, I think he debuted or re-debuted in DDT on that January 3rd Korakuen, and maybe that should have been assigned to us because I don't know. I think before that it had been a while since his last DDT appearance.
Yeah.
And they had, I want to say Higuchi was in Noah's Global League a few years ago. But other than that, the two promotions have been somewhat separate. So I assume we'll get some crossover, but I don't think they'll be, completely overlapping brands. I think it's already announced that Noah involvement will be on DDT's Saitama Super Arena show.
Yeah, that's
which is interesting. Yep.
Yeah.
And then
they're going to run back-to-back nights at Sumo Hall. And do you know, is it October?
I think it was November, like late November.
Okay, yeah. So they're going to run back-to-back nights, so that's cool.
Yeah, which is great to hear, which I think they also did this year, or maybe Big Japan was in between them. They were in some order.
No, Big Japan was a third night, so yeah.
So they were back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear these talks have been in underway for a while, it sounds like. And, the other big thing, when it comes to, we found out, which this blew my mind when I heard it. It turns out Mitsuharu Misawa, of course, the founder of Noah, and before he passed away, he was like funding DDT back in the day. Because Shinshiro Takagi, who, the president of DDT, who also was made president of Noah, he mentioned this as like a reason why he was so interested in buying Noah, because he almost looked like he was repaying the favor. Because back in the day, Misawa funded them, and they did have a connection around like the mid 2000s when they had that Global Pro Wrestling Alliance thing that kind of never went anywhere, but they were, DDT and Noah were both members of that, and that was Noah's baby. And there was like crossover in the Differ Cup, and the junior tag leagues they used to do. So yeah, there's a history there, which is interesting. But just to find out that Misawa was apparently like one of DDT's backers, like financial backers back in the day, was really fascinating. And that's a guy who always kind of had his finger on the pulse of where Japanese wrestling was going, and that was another good example, I guess, of how he decided to back DDT before they were anything really.
Yeah, when I heard that, I mean, that was kind of crazy to hear, but just like you said, Misawa knows best. One of the greatest of all times, and he funded one of the greatest wrestling promotions in the world today.
Yeah.
Turns out, yeah.
But I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything else business wise about Noah and DDT.
Marufuji's the vice president.
Yeah, Marufuji's the vice president. We're gonna have, like I said, a lot of if you're not signed up for DDT Universe, I mean, they're not raising the price apparently, so it's still 900 yen, and now you get Noah on top of DDT. It's just mind blowing. So you're gonna get a lot of great shows on that service. If you're not signed up, definitely check it out. Chris, do you want to jump in here? Any thoughts on the purchase?
Yeah, I guess I call myself a Noah, watcher. I'm a casual, at least. I try to catch up on the big shows, and it's one of the promotions that I've enjoyed a lot recently. So this excites me to make their shows more accessible. I think that that's a huge piece to the puzzle here, and I think that the products that Noah and DDT are putting out, they each kind of have their own lane, so they can work together well and be on the same service. And I think you'll know what you're watching. It's not going to be one of those things where they kind of blend together. So I'm excited for the prospects. I'm glad that Noah is, they made this decision versus what we all assume was the other option, which was the WWE purchase, which I can't imagine would have gone all that well. To be honest, I don't see a lot of prospects there for growth in that situation. So I'm intrigued to see the consolidation of pro wrestling. I mean, there's a lot of companies around the world, and I think we're seeing something similar to what started to happen in the music industry before that bubble really popped, where record labels really started working together, and there were a ton of just like dotted lines and funding coming from different places. So, and we're starting to see a lot of that happen in pro wrestling. And I think the health of the pro wrestling industry is significantly better than the music industry at the time. So I think the situation is more that these pro wrestling companies are seeking growth. They're not seeking the opportunity to continue to operate. So, I'm a little bummed that Noah has pulled their partnership with MLW, because that got me a couple of Noah guys coming over to Chicago, or at least I was hopeful that they would come to Chicago from time to time on the MLW tapings. But that's the only loss on my end. I think otherwise this is going to be great.
But yeah, so that's bringing up MLW. I know they just announced a new partnership with Dragon Gate, who's another company that told W to go fuck itself, apparently. So, it's a very interesting time right now in Japanese wrestling, where they're, like you're saying, you have companies consolidating. You have Bushiroad and CyberAgent looking like, these powers. It almost makes me wonder if Bushiroad might want to counter with, by purchasing a secondary Japanese brand of their own, and I'm not sure if that's something they definitely want to do, but like at one point Noah was their secondary Japanese brand before, the owners pulled out and, they like sold it behind their back. So it makes me wonder if they might not want to, like, I'm not sure if it's something that's definitely going to happen, but like if I woke up one day to like Bushiroad buys All Japan or Bushiroad buys Wrestle One or whatever the fuck, I'm not going to be surprised. It just kind of feels like another shoe that could drop there. But that's just my own little speculation. But yeah, I guess any final thoughts, Thomas, on the industry, how things look right now before we move into some quick talk on Noah itself?
Yeah, as Chris was saying, I mean, the web of connections between all the promotions in Japan right now is, really hard to sort out. Like, you have a 0-1 guy as DDT's champion. You have a Noah guy as Wrestle One's champion. You've got like 2AW and DDT, or 2AW and Noah and 0-1 guys in Big Japan's annual Strong Climb tournament, or semi-annual. I guess it's every 2 years.
Oh, they announced the participants? I didn't even see that.
They, in fact, did announce the participants. It actually looks really great. If I can pull that up real quick, but the web connecting everybody in Japan is crazy right now. It's hard to sort it out. I mean, you have All Japan working with Big Japan. Maybe Big Japan starts to move closer to them and further away from DDT and Noah, and you see that sort of become an alliance that forms more clearly. yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out over the next few months. So
all right,
I can
Thomas, lay the strong climb participants on me real quick. I'm just curious.
All right, so it's 4 blocks this year. I think it was 2 blocks in the past, but I'm not sure about that. Block A is Akira Hyoto, Ryuichi Kawakami, the champion Daichi Hashimoto, Noah's Yoshiki Inamura, and T-Hawk, obviously from Strong Hearts, which is that's kind of a stacked block there. Block B is Kazuki Hashimoto, Daisuke Sekimoto, 2AW's Taishi Takezawa, 01's Kohei Sato, and X, which will be announced on Big Japan's next Korakuen show on February 11th. That's a show that'll be headlined by Yankee Ten Kenju against.
Imagine if X is somehow Walter.
That'd be cool. Oh my God! Why would you say that, John?
Get Walter in some actual wrestling matches again.
That would be Walter and Sekimoto, Walter and Sato. Yeah, get Walter, make Walter great again. I've seen rumors that it's Michael Elgin, but we'll see. The O from you right there was very telling. Block C is Hideyoshi Kamitani, Ryota Hama, Yuji Okabayashi, Yuji Hino from 01, and Quiet Storm, who recently left Noah and is a freelance guy now. And Block D is the junior champion Yuya Aoki, Yasufumi Nakanoe, the next strong challenger Takuya Nomura, Kazumi Kikuta, and All Japan's Jake Lee, closing out that block. So we've got
that does sound pretty loaded up, I have to say.
Yeah,
so.
it's a nice group of guys.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. And there's a Takuya against Daichi title match before that tournament will start. I think that's in Osaka coming up later this month. So yeah, we'll see.
All right,
should be pretty good.
So really quickly, before we wrap this up, we do got to wrap it up quickly. Let's talk the Noah Korakuen January 30th. I'm not going to go match by match. I'm just going to note, if you didn't see the show, it's on DDT Universe for free, I think, still for VOD. And this was a really good show. I mean, I have a ton of stuff at 3.5 or 3.25. I have 2 4-star matches, Harada and Ohara in the Global Junior League semifinal, and Harada being Dick Togo in the Global Junior League final. So this was a really good show, and definitely one I would recommend checking out. Thomas, do you want to tell the people about the Noah Korakuen real quick?
No, yeah, it was a great show. Daisuke Harada against Hajime Ohara, as John mentioned, that's the match that's been getting the most hype. I went 4.25 stars there. Harada's been great. If you don't mind clipped wrestling, he had a match against Chris Ridgway from their junior tournament that made their YouTube that was good, and a match against Katara Suzuki that also was clipped that made their YouTube. And by clipped, I don't mean like the first 5 minutes is missing. I mean like it's very much cut down. There's not any rest spot. It's just cut to the next spot. And if you can get over that, those are a pair of very good matches. The other semifinal, Dick Togo against Yoshinari Ogawa, I went 3.5 on, and then the finals with Daisuke Harada and Dick Togo, I went 3 3/4 stars on. Also on this show, we had a fun Kongo versus Noah 10-man tag. Axis and Shuei Taniguchi against Suga Uragun. I went 3 3/4 on that. And then also the Rattels against Stinger 6-man on the undercard, I thought was very good as well. Setting up a future junior tag title match. This was a really fun show top to bottom. You also had Quiet Storm's final Noah match on there. And it sets up a lot of interesting matches for the future. And I think Noah's in a really good direction. Now, it should be mentioned, this show drew like absolute shit. I think it
did 988, I think.
But, we'll see. You got to
build it up.
I'm excited for the new direction. So, a junior tournament and then a 6-man tag as your semi-main is not exactly putting your best foot forward. But we'll see how it is.
So there's some great stuff coming up too. So I want to go through what's coming up here. February 16th is the Higher Ground Korakuen Hall show. I believe this is their debut on Abema, which usually would mean it's also going to air on DDT Universe. So that should be on there live. The main event, after they had their amazing match 1-on-1 for the title, this time Go Shiozaki and Kaito Kiyomiya team up, and they take on the team of Takashi Sugera and Kazuyuki Fujita, because those are 2 big singles matches coming up. So that could be really good. That's a really good main event.
Really excited for that.
And the undercard, the big undercard singles match is Katsuhiko Nakajima one-on-one with Hideki Suzuki, which could be really good as well.
Yeah, Hideki Suzuki, notably absent from Big Japan's Strong Climb this year after he was their champion just a couple years ago, and he looks to be pivoting more full-time to Noah.
Yeah.
Interesting to watch.
And then we have February 24th airing live on Samurai TV, the Pro Wrestling Noah 20th Anniversary Noah the Chronicle Volume 1 from Nagoya. This show is main evented by Takashi Sugera defending the national title against Kaito Kiyomiya. Those two have had some really good matches before, so hopefully they do again here. And then you have a semi-main tag match of Go Shiozaki and Shuei Taniguchi against Kaz Fujita and Hideki Suzuki, which again could be really good. And then March...
On this show, we also got Katsuhiko Nakajima against... Did you mention this? Against Yoshiki?
Oh, yeah, Inamura. That's right. Yeah,
That's like
Yoshiki Inamura.
And I do want to mention real quick, they brought over Dragon Bane and Elio de Candice Lupus, who have been on their shows before. And on both of the announced shows, they're in singles matches against each other, which is interesting to see. These are two guys that got into it with the Strong Hearts guys down in Mexico earlier this week, or maybe last week. So I think it might be interesting that you see maybe they were already agreed to fly them over, but given that they're in singles matches against each other rather than with any of the Noah guys, maybe they're not trusted or there's some heat there, even if Strong Hearts isn't allied with Noah at all. So that's maybe something to keep an eye on.
And then March 8th, we know we're going to have the Noah the Chronicle Volume 2 from Yokohama Bunker Gymnasium, which will be the big show for the first quarter of the year. And this is going to air live on G+. So, at least you don't have to wait. Even if it doesn't air somewhere else, at least it's not the long wait like some of these G+ shows are. All we have so far is the main event, which is Go Shiozaki defending the GHC heavyweight title against Kazuki Fujita, which is a match I'm really excited to see. I'm sure the rest of the card will get eventually, and it should be. I mean, I would expect they haven't announced it, but I would expect Yoshinari Ogawa versus Daisuke. Versus
Daisuke Harada.
Daisuke Harada, who won the. Yeah. He won the junior league. So,
and then looking at some build-up tags, I think potentially you could see Hayata and Yohei challenging for the junior tag titles.
Yeah, against Kotaro and Kotoge.
Yeah.
So there you go. Some good stuff coming up from Noah. Definitely worth keeping your eye on.
Hopefully we get Hideki and Kano as well, because their interactions on 1-4 were really great.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, let's wrap things up here. First of all, Chris, give me your plugs.
Hey, I am the Chris Samsa on Twitter, TheChrisSamsa. You can visit my website, sportofprowrestling.com, where you can find up-to-the-minute, up-to-date New Japan Pro Wrestling statistics, as well as AEW and some other features coming soon. I post all of the statistics that I send to Kevin Kelly and Gino Gambino and Chris Charlton. I post them over at Voices of Wrestling before any big New Japan shows. And I have a column at PW Torch covering US wrestling in the form of objective statistics. So you can find me a lot of different places around the internet.
All right. Thomas, give me your plugs, which I think is a lot shorter.
Yeah. Wow, it's kind of like a personal attack there. No. You can follow me on Twitter at Wrestling Ratings. We got an article that should be posted tomorrow or today or in the past, depending on when you listen to this, with me and Jack Beckman going through the top 15 wrestlers of January, and we'll give you recommended matches for each of those guys. So that should be fun. Well worth checking out. You'll see some Noah guys on there, some New Japan guys on there, obviously. And also some guys that you might not have seen anything of. So it'll be a good place to get some match recommendations for the month as we cap off what has been a great January, especially in Puro.
It was. I can't believe how much fucking 4-star stuff I have on my list already. It was a really good month for Japanese wrestling, the greatest form of wrestling on earth. All right, folks. Thank you as always for listening. We will see you next week. It'll be me and my buddy Quinlan returning to talk the New Beginning in Osaka show. We're also, if there's anything up from the February 8th Stardom Korakuen, I plan to cover that as well. So hopefully we get the main event at least. Maybe
in Mayu, going 30 minutes draw. That'll be good stuff.
Yeah. So hopefully we get at least Mayu and Suri. Maybe we'll get something else too. Who knows? But anything else from Stardom Korakuen we're going to cover too. But obviously the big thing will be New Beginning Osaka. So that'll be next week. You can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Omakase. Wrestling Did Not Fit. And folks, thank you as always for listening. We'll see you next time.